So good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Dr. Belinda Wilkerson, and I'm the owner of Steps to the Future, which is a college and career counseling service. So what I'm going to do today is just give you some background on how I got to where I am today and what I'm doing, and I hope that you can give me some help on what my next step should be. I always love to put this up. I use this in just about every presentation. Usually I show the entire TED Talk. But Rita Pearson was an educator out of Texas. And when you get an opportunity, please watch her TED Talk. For anyone that's in education, it's one of the most inspiring TED Talks that I've watched. And what she says here really is my mantra. I really believe that every child deserves a champion, and that's what we are in students' lives. Sometimes we may be the only champion that they have. Okay, so a little background about me. So back in the day with the afro, I didn't have my glasses on because I was trying to be cute, couldn't see. The reason I put this, actually I should have started with an 8th grade picture, but when I was in the 8th grade, I was in a middle school where people were tracked academically. So there was the top group, it was like A, B, B, C, C, D, D, and stuff like that. And this is back in the 60s, so there was one black male and one black female in the top group. I remember in 8th grade, we used to have guidance classes, so our school counselor used to actually hold classes. And we had to write a research paper. And I wrote mine on I wanted to be a teacher, because I knew from early on that that was going to be my path in life. And when I went to meet with him, after receiving an A on the paper, one of the things he said to me is, well, you know, you should think about being more like Mrs. Varela, who was the secretary in the main office. He said, because your people don't go to college. 13 years old. Okay, I've got straight A's. You just gave me an A on the paper, but you're telling me I can't go to college. I put that away somewhere. His story wasn't going to be my story. I knew who I was. I knew what I was going to do. So again, went on through high school, graduated from high school. This picture, this is me graduating from Rhode Island College with my degree, bachelor's degree in secondary education with concentration in history. And I did go on to get a master's degree from Rhode Island College in counselor education. You don't see a picture of me graduating there because I was probably 8.9 months pregnant, and I did not want to put on a cap and gown and didn't feel like it, so I didn't go. I decided at the age of 53, 54 that I wanted to go back to school. I always wanted to get a doctorate. And it was one of those things where I kept saying, all right, next year, all right, next year, all right, next year. When I'm 40, when I'm 45, and I said, oh, hell, I'm 50 and I still don't have this degree. What are we going to do? So my girlfriend convinced me to go back to school with her at the same time so we could feel the pain together. So I went to Johnson & Wales in Providence. I'm from Rhode Island. So the campus in Providence, which is the main Johnson & Wales campus, does have a doctoral program in educational leadership. So I went back to school, did that program. I don't remember much of it because those 3 years was like a black hole because I was working full time, you know, had a family, and was working in a full-time doctoral program. So it was a little bit much, but we survived. So this is my good friend Liz Ann, because we were just so happy that day. So what did I do with that bachelor's degree and the master's degree? So I went on and I became, as I said, a social studies teacher and a school counselor. So these are just some pictures from my days. So this is me teaching 7th grade, well, my 7th grade geography room. I was just talking with you about teaching middle school. So I was a 7th grade geography teacher for 16 years. Loved my 7th graders. Went on to become a high school counselor and social studies teacher first, then a counselor. So this young lady, so this picture is really special to me. I always loved to go to chaperone dances and stuff. So I went to all the senior proms. So the young lady that's to the left of me was a student who was an immigrant and had never been to a prom, didn't have the money. Dad wasn't supportive of her going. I have 2 sons, I didn't have a daughter. So I said, I'll go buy you a prom dress. So we went prom dress shopping. I almost said, why did I say that? I didn't know prom dresses cost that much. And I I couldn't say, oh, we can't buy that one, because I had said, oh, you get what you want. I'm like, oh, I what I'm saying. So we had a great time, but she had a wonderful time at the prom. She looked absolutely gorgeous. That's me in my messy office. I always have that messy office picture up there, because if you see my home office, it's still messy.
Oh.
You know, I haven't grown out of that. The top picture, over to the far,
Right.
so it's your right-hand side, yes. We were introducing a Signs of Suicide program in our high school, and the gentleman in the middle was then Congressman Patrick Kennedy. So he had come to the school and was endorsing the program. So because I had the opportunity to meet with him and starting the program, I was able to be there. In the bottom, graduation, working graduation, so that's one of my kids, Katie. It was nice, you know, I was telling someone I worked at middle school for a number of years, but then went to the high school, so there were kids that I knew from the time they were 12 years old until they graduated from high school. So Katie was one of those kids. So I knew her when she was 12 years old and had the opportunity to work with her at high school graduation. And this, I had the opportunity to work at Providence College. So they were starting a program called the Rhode Island School Counseling Project, where they wanted school counselors to work on implementing a national curriculum. And I was recruited to do that program. And it was supposed to be for 1 year. It ended up being for 6 years. So that's just my business card there. So I was the counselor in residence at Providence College in their counselor education program for 6 years. Then I also taught the career information class for people who were aspiring to be school counselors. So that's my background. Then that infamous date, December 28th, 2010. That's the day a family friend drove me from my wonderful home state of Rhode Island, 725.9.2 miles to Fayetteville, North Carolina. So that's when I officially moved to North Carolina. My husband's actually from Fayetteville. He graduated from Terry Sanford back in the day. He decided when he retired that he was tired of shoveling snow. So that's how I ended up here. Against my will. He actually lived here for 1.5 years before I moved. I'll show, this is a video, I hope it plays. When I moved here, in anticipation of moving here, I started applying for jobs. I made sure that my teacher certificate was valid in North Carolina, my school counseling certificate, but I really didn't want to go back into public schools. I wasn't thrilled with public schools in North Carolina, so I decided I was going to stay away from that. But after applying for 36 plus jobs in this area, I said, forget it. I have worked since I was 13 years old. I've never not had a job. So that was like a blow to my ego that, wow, I had all this going for me in Rhode Island, and I moved here. I can't get a job. I applied to NC State. I applied to UNC Pembroke. I applied to Fayetteville State. I applied to 3 or 4 jobs here. I applied to so many places to continue doing the same kind of work I was doing. And I just said, I'm not doing this anymore. I know my value. I'm not going to wait for someone else to see it. So I decided to start my own business. But I wasn't sure I wanted to be an independent. I was fortunate enough that some of my friends in admissions had said to me, why don't you become an independent educational consultant? I said, what's that? You know, I don't know if I really want to do that. So I went to some conferences, did research for probably about 6 months on what it was to be an independent educational consultant. Found out that there are 2 professional associations that actually represent independent educational consultants. One is IECA, which is the Independent Educational Consultants Association. It's been around since 1976. And the other one is HECA, Higher Education Consultants Association. And that's been around since about 1990 something. I am happy to say that through my work and stuff, I am on the board of directors for the Independent Educational Consultants Association. So for me, that was a big thing to do. So I want to give you an overview of what I do with my kids. And I hope this plays. No. I have to play it right here.
will be scratching your head as you try to figure out which financial objectives you want. The SAT, the XAT, or test optional. Which one is the better choice for you? Let Steps to the Future LLC help you answer these questions and more with a personalized approach to all career counseling. We provide guidance with research, selection, application, and transition to college. We're available to you on-site, online, or Rhode. Call 401-447-4273 or send an email to Wilkerson@stepstothefuture.com to take your next steps to college. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, or check us out on Pinterest, Steps to the Future. Let us help you eliminate random acts of college planning today. www.stepstothefuture.com.
That was made on Fiverr.
Good job.
Yeah, I was, some friends of mine, you know, we had learned about Fiverr in a summer training institute, so we kept talking about we were gonna do whiteboard animations. And I said, well, you know what, I'm just gonna go and find somebody on here. I gave myself 20 minutes to look at the reviews, because there are so many people on Fiverr that do so many things. And I picked this young woman that's out of Indonesia, wrote the script, she did 3 revisions, and cost me $50.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great
I know that
investment.
voice.
Yeah. $50. And what she does is when you send you tell her what type of voice you want, so she sent me 5 MP3 files with different voices, and you pick the voice you want. And then she does the words and sends it to you.
So what are you saying, Fiverr?
Fiverr, Fiverr. 5 with an extra R on the end, 2 R's on the end. Yeah. So this is also in the back. There's a brochure in the back. So the brochure just outlines what I do with my students. So what I do when I have a new student or I'm meeting with the family, we talk about what their expectations are, what it is that they're looking for. So I have different packages, starting with a comprehensive package, where if I start with the student as early as 9th grade, we're going through everything that they need to be doing. We're looking at the classes they're taking, we're looking at extracurricular work they're doing, we're talking about future classes that they're going to take. All my kids, by the end of 9th grade, if they start with me that early, they've had a draft resume going, because it's important for a lot of scholarship programs that they have a resume ready, so instead of scrambling at the end, this is something we talk about, because kids don't always realize that the things that they're doing are substantial. So it's getting them to understand that, okay, so some kids will say to me, well, I can't work because I'm taking care of my younger siblings. That's an important skill.
Right.
That's something that has value. How do we capture that
Team
on a
building.
resume? So we need to do that. So we start off where, you know, I'll have a comprehensive package where I start with students as young as early as 9th grade to 12th grade, so there's a fee for that. Then I also have a 10-hour session package, a 10-session package, 5-session package, or hourly. So families get to choose what they want to do as far as what they want for services. Now, one of the things I do want to say, because people always say, well, they have a school counselor, why do they need you? That's a question I always get. I don't replace the school counselor, I supplement what they do.
Yeah.
It's just like if a child is an incredible violinist, they're going to take lessons outside of school with a private teacher. Think of all the kids we know that are in AAU or travel leagues or what have you. So that's what I do. I always encourage my kids to let their school counselor know that they're working with me, and then we do a release of information for them, because I think the more hands that are on that child, the better off they are. However, unfortunately, 9 times out of 10, my kids don't want their school counselor to know that they're working with someone on the outside. So that's something we just deal with. So just a couple stories about some of the kids that I am working with, I have worked with. In the far corner, that's Emma. Emma lives in Rhode Island, so I work with kids online and in person. So I use Zoom. I started out with Skype, but Skype was always dropping calls and stuff, and I didn't like it. So I use Zoom. So Emma lives in Rhode Island, my home state. So what I do is when I go home to visit, I get to go see Emma in person. Otherwise, we're meeting on Zoom. She's currently a junior. We started working last year, and her goal is to go into public policy or political science or something like that. She wants to do some type of government work. In the top up there, that's Ashanti. Actually, she was in my first presentation because I had started working with her. So that's a picture of us on her campus. She is now a senior at Hampton University in the nursing program. One of the things we have to do for our professional associations, we have to visit a minimum of 25 different schools a year. So it just happened that I was doing a tour of Virginia schools and her school was on the tour. So I had enough time, like 8 minutes really, because it was in between her class and where we had to be, where I got to be on campus with her and see her freshman year. This is her this past summer as a senior doing an internship at a children's hospital in Ohio. So we have stayed in touch. We're always talking, seeing how things are going. She'll be graduating in May. I'm so proud of her. It's really, really good. This young man just graduated from Terry Sanford this past June. He is a freshman at East Carolina. We had a conversation 2 days ago. I said, how's it going? Did you transition? He goes, I don't know what to do with all this free time. I'm like, read, study. What do you mean you don't know what to do with all this free time? So we're having that conversation when he comes home. We'll be talking about that. And this is a picture. I volunteer at the East Regional Library in a program called Chillax. I go every Tuesday from like 3:30 to 5:30. I've been doing this for 4 years now. I was doing a presentation at the different library branches, and the librarian that was there invited me to come back and talk with the kids. And I said, yeah, maybe I will, So I came back one day, and 4 years later, I'm still coming. This young lady, Julia, so she was a 9th grader in this picture. Julia is now a freshman at Hollins University in Virginia, which is a women's college. She is the vice president of the freshman class. She is a go-getter. So she sent me this wonderful email because because what I do there is I do informal college and career counseling with the kids. So they see me there every Tuesday. They know I'm there to ask any questions that they may have. So she used to ask a lot of questions, and the mom would come in and ask questions. And that worked out really well because when she only applied to 2 schools, because lawyers, you gotta apply to more. I said, at least 5, no, just these 2. She got into both that she wanted to get into. Hollins didn't offer her as much in the way of financial aid as the other school did. And I said, okay, Hollins is your first choice. You need to call them and let them know, you're my first choice, but financially it's not working for me. What can you do? And she did that, and Hollins gave her what she needed to be able to go to their university. Because first of all, the girl was a perfect student. I mean, she was the perfect student for them. She goes, I wouldn't have done that if you hadn't told us that that was a possibility. So again, it's just having those informal conversations with kids, and I love doing that part of the work. So how do I communicate with my kids? One of the things that I've subscribed to is an online student management system. My end of it is called College Planner Pro. Their end of it is called Custom College Plan. So there are 2 dashboards. There's my dashboard where I can see certain things, and then each student has their own dashboard. Through that system, this is where I'm sending messages to the student. This is where they can upload documents. When they're doing essays, they can link their essays from Google Docs right into that program so that I can see it. Oh God, what else do we do there? I do all my billing and invoicing from there. There's a feature called Broadcast where I can send out emails to lists that I've created. The nice thing about the Broadcast feature is that I can go in and check to see who's opened the email. So when parents say, well, I never saw that email, I'm like, it's right here, you didn't open it, So again, that's just the features in a nutshell. It has a lot of features to it. I have the kids sync their phone to the system so that when I send a message, it comes to them as a text. Because we know they don't open emails. But as they get older, when they start applying, we have a lot of conversations about opening up your emails because that's how colleges communicate. So we have those conversations, and I'll say, hey, I sent you something by email. Well, I didn't open it. I'm like, really? So if I'm if I'm somebody sending you a scholarship and there's a deadline date and you miss it because you don't open up the email, oh well, So we have this conversation as a family. Usually I meet with the kids separately. Sometimes parents sit in on the meeting. It depends on what's going on. Sometimes I just have meetings with parents about certain things. But the kids drive the process. They have to learn how to take ownership of what they're going to do and who they're going to be. And as long as the parents allow them to do that, everything works out pretty well. As I said, we have to do college tours. So these are just a few pictures from some of the schools I visited: University of Michigan, Xavier University in Ohio. That actually came at an opportune time, that tour, because one of my students was looking at that school, and her dad was a little worried about what the neighborhood would be like around the college. So I was able to go visit the school and, always go and visit the neighborhood and stuff. And I said, it looks pretty safe. She's there now. She is a junior. She is a junior at Xavier. Georgia Southern, Kalamazoo in Michigan. Those folks in that picture, they're like my virtual teammates, virtual office mates. So we meet once a month through a Google Hangout. They're located in California. One is in Durham, California, Michigan, and Illinois. We all are independent educational consultants, but we all were missing that feeling of working with a team and working in an office. So we work together, share resources. If somebody writes a blog post, we send it to that person and they dissect it and go through it and what have you. We travel together, so when we go to conferences, one of them, except Tom, is usually my roommate. So we always, travel together. I think this picture down here, we were visiting Averett University in Virginia. My biggest thing was I had to figure out how to market what I do, because people don't know what it is. So, you do what? Well, why did we need you? Well, how do you do that? So I had to figure out how to market in different ways. So all of you have a copy of the newsletter, and I have to give you a backstory on this newsletter. I kept saying, so there's a woman who does a service that independent subscribe to her service, and she brands the newsletter for you. And I remember when I looked at it and I looked at the price, I'm like, I can write these articles, I know this stuff. So I said that to her one November, we're at a conference. Then I saw her the following November at a conference, and I still hadn't started my newsletter. And I said, Gail, how much is that? So that was like one of the best business decisions I made. So she does it, she sends us, we get it, at the end of every month for the next month. The articles are always great, they're always right on time. It was the best money I ever spent, because she just takes care of everything for us. Where you see that EFC and NPC, I started doing Facebook Lives, because one of the things I did when I first started marketing, I was trying the print ads, the radio ads, and stuff like that against the advice of people who had been doing this work for years. They said, do not do that because it doesn't work for our business. But I was here and I was freaking out because I was like, I don't know how to get customers and nobody knows me in Fayetteville and I don't have a professional network, so I gotta do this. So I spent ridiculous money doing some print ads and doing some radio stuff. So all my mentors told me that I was absolutely crazy that I did that, so I had to stop doing that. So I started doing more with social media. Candy Sugarman, I've taken many classes with Candy, her webinars and what have you, so I've just been really pushing social media. So I've started doing Facebook Lives, and one of my problems was that I wasn't always consistent with what I was doing. So I had to get consistent. So every other Monday at 7 p.m., I'm doing a Facebook Live. So I just did this one this past Monday. The next one is October 30th. The other thing I do a lot is I do vendor events. This one happened to be for a health and wellness event, raising money for the Cape Fear Breast Cancer Center. So Stephanie Keegler, who does Dancing with Fitness, and so yeah, you were there. So I was at that. So I'll do certain things like that. So it's about staying out in the community so people know me and get to learn who I am. Recently, I was appointed to the Cumberland County Board of Trustees for the library system. So I'm now a Board of Trustee for the library system, which I absolutely love because I'm all about literacy and making sure that kids get educated and are using public services. I don't think people realize how great public library is. That was my earliest memory as a child, was getting my library card back home in Providence. The other thing I do a lot of with Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Pinterest, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn. So there are some cards back there with all these on there. So I encourage all of you to follow me on social media. I tell all my kids and people, I post scholarships and other opportunities on Instagram and on Facebook. So a lot of people will walk up to me and say, well, my kid needs a scholarship. How can we get a private scholarship? I said, you know what, follow me on Instagram. You can, and if you have the eligibility requirements, then you apply. If not, keep looking. I mean, finding private scholarships that you're eligible for is the key. There's private scholarships out there, but if you're not eligible for them, oh well, you can't be eligible for them if you have a C average. The other thing I do is I do career counseling. So, you know, there were the letters GCDF after my name. That's a Global Career Development Facilitator. So because I love the whole idea of careers and talking about it and having taught that class at Providence College, when I moved here, I'd always wanted to get my certificate for that, but I never had the time. And because part of it involved taking a class. That was the last thing I needed. So when I moved here, I was able to take the class in Raleigh. And you just have to take so many professional development credits every 5 years in order to keep the certificate. So I was just at Elon University Friday for a full day career conference. So one of the things that I do with my students, if they're doing the comprehensive package, is we do a lot of career assessment. We're talking about not just what do you want to be when you grow up, but like what problems do you want to solve? What are your aptitudes? What are your interests? How do we take this and find a major that fits, or find a school that has what you need? So there's a lot of conversation, and that starts at 9th grade. When they hit their junior year, I use this assessment called U-Science, which really does a great job of looking at aptitudes and helping them figure out how those aptitudes fit into different careers. And it's something that they have access to online. The online part is really robust. So they have access to it for 10 years. Then there's also a written part of a report that I have printed out and bound, and every student gets it. But the neatest thing that I've started doing with this is I've started using this with adults who just want to do some career coaching. So one of my clients lives in California. This is a woman who has degrees from Carnegie Mellon and Penn State. Wants to change jobs, but had a lot of self-esteem things also going on and what have you. So we've been working through this. She's done this, we've been working through it, and our big thing now is working on her LinkedIn profile. I have to say, after 6 months, I finally convinced her she needed a professional headshot, and she went and did it last Saturday.
Awesome.
Did not want to do it, was, I don't know, but we talked it over and talked it over and talked it over. But we started with U-Science. We started with doing that. So she and I meet online at least twice a month, and we go through that. She has homework that she has to work on, and then I check to see if the homework's done. You know, we use SMART goals, so is it specific, is it measurable, is it achievable, is it relevant, and is it timely, is there a timestamp on it? So I do a lot of that. So it was kind of interesting that our last meeting we were talking about some of the skills people were looking at, so I was going back and I was looking at my notes. So these were the things that we had put on the sheet, the critical skills. So I said, okay, what are my 3 top critical skills that I really needed to work on? And part of it from not having come from Fayetteville was the networking part, which I think I'm doing much better at now. Before I hated networking, hated it with a passion. It was like, oh my God, I'm an introvert by nature. And I gotta go out here and talk to these people. I mean, I'm a school counselor. My kids were there in the office. I had a caseload. They knew I was their school counselor. I didn't have to go out and get kids. So this whole thing of figuring out how to do networking and how to do networking in Fayetteville, which you know is a unique animal. So I had to figure out how to do that. So I know I've gotten better at it. I still think there are some things that I need to do differently as far as doing more strategic networking in places where my target audience is and not just where anybody happens to be. So I'm working on that. Time management, because I am kind of a, not OCD, but I like to have my hands in everything and take care of everything. So sometimes I run out of time for doing certain things that I want to do or trying to get things scheduled. And business management, the thing I hate the absolute most is keeping that spreadsheet for income and expenses. Oh my God. And I know I need to hire someone to do that. And I have someone in the wings who will do that for me. I just haven't been able to like give it up yet. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to because I hate doing that. Hate it, hate it, hate it. Some of my 3 biggest problems, again, limited time because like right now is crunch time for me. So from August to December, actually maybe to the end of November, December, especially with kids that are applying to colleges early, you're trying to get so many things done. So a lot of schools like NC State, their early action deadline was October 15th. So you start working with kids, and my kids are writing their essays in the summer because we got to be ready for those early action deadlines. So this is crunch time because you're really trying to get kids to get as much done before the Christmas vacation so they can just relax and chill out and let some of that stress go. But it's staying on top of that and making sure that they're doing it. The other thing, I keep going back and forth about whether to hire someone to help me. I've had someone work with me doing some essay reading, actually like as a second reader. So I would read it first and have this person read it and say, does this sound like a 17-year-old and stuff like that. But I know eventually as I grow, I'll have to hire someone, but I know I'll have to look into training them because I need to make sure that, because I'm the company, and I need to make sure that they're thinking the way that I'm thinking, that they know how to, that it's not an English essay like you do for your English teacher, that it's entirely different. It's about telling your story and making sure that it's in their voice. One of my friends that I've met here is a certified school counselor, and we were having a conversation, and she said to me one day, oh, good, when you get ready to hire someone, I can come work for you. And I said, well, no, you can't, because then we wouldn't be friends. I said, I've seen your work ethic. We can't work, you can't work for me, because I had to fire you day one. I said, remember, I know your work history. No. So she's like, okay. You know, so she kind of looked at me at first because she was surprised that I said that, but I said, if we're going to remain friends or even talk to each other, you can't work for me. It's just not going to work. Getting the info out, you know, again, I think I'm doing a decent job, but I still feel like there are audiences that I haven't reached yet with my message. I have presented like to a couple of Kiwanis clubs. I've joined the Hope Mills Chamber, so I've done some other things. I used to go around to collaborate with the libraries and go around to the different branches, but I tell you, when you do those workshops like that, and you do all this preparation and get there, and it's you and 2 people,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. So I tell people now, I'll come out to your church, your organization, whatever, you give me the audience, and I'll be there. But I'm not going to like build it and they will come. I'm not doing that anymore. Because it's too frustrating and it would make me crazy, and then my husband, I'd come home with that look on my face and my poor husband would get the brunt of it. So again, can't be doing that anymore. So that's me in a nutshell, and what can you help me with? What do I need to do? Where do I need to go? One of the things I do want to say before I get suggestions, people say, well, have you gone to the school department? Have you talked to the counselors? There's a love-hate relationship between school counselors and independents.
Yeah.
And so and having been a school counselor, I understand where they're coming from. When your principal will bring in somebody from the outside to do the job that you were trained to do because they don't allow you the time to do it,
Yeah.
that's resentment. And I'm not going to do that. I will not do that to another professional. Plus, it's against our ethics and we have to sign off on our ethical things on our associations to do anything like that. And in these associations, if they do find out that you do something unethical, not only are you dropped from the association, but they also put it in writing to the colleges to let them know that you are no longer a member of that association in good standing, that you're out. So they let people know because they don't want you bringing their professional brand down. So there's a strong vetting process in these associations. So I could talk forever and ever. Cindy, yes.
You mentioned the fact that you're looking at, you might need some help, and especially during your crunch time, that kind of thing. I would encourage you to visit some of the local colleges and universities and look at work-based learning, co-op kind of thing. You can go from someone who has business and marketing skills to help you with the running of the business to someone who is looking at guidance counseling as a future where they can get the heads up. It also would help you build some of that relationship with the people who do go to school, so it's not so much the hate side, but more the that side.
Okay, so with something like that, can someone that is not a nonprofit also get that help? Because I asked someone about it, they go, oh, we only do it for nonprofits.
Oh, no, work-based
Okay.
learning is, they're just getting the experience, and it's for one semester normally. You can sometimes get them for a second semester if you like, but it also gives you an opportunity that if you are thinking about hiring someone, you might find someone that you love, that you want to hire after, but you're not obligated. If the person's not working out, you can contact the coordinator and say, this person's not working out. You're not obligated for the entire semester, but it gives you an opportunity to get some help during your crunch time, either on the business side or the guidance counseling side, you know, somebody who's trying to get into that
Get into
field.
that field.
It gives them some experience on their resume as well. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Yes.
And forgive me if it sounds bad, but it sounds like you're working with the cream of the crop. What about those students that are not?
No,
Standard.
and that's a question we get, and say, okay, this is a service that people pay for. What about, my heart is with the kids
Yeah.
who don't have the money. So probably 30% of my caseload is pro bono.
But I'm talking about the kids that are C or even worse. I mean.
Oh, some of my kids are.
Okay,
Some of my kids are, yeah. I don't say, you know, you've got to have a certain GPA.
Okay.
What I say is, with this GPA, there are certain schools we have to look at.
Yeah, I know, and I
Yes.
understand that as well.
Oh, no, I don't, I work with kids across all levels, all GPAs,
Good.
all income classes, yes.
Wait, how did you get that? Steve, how did you arrive at that she only works with the cream of the crop?
Just from the sound of the places that you were talking about, that, you know, the students were, you know, the schools that they were going to, the kinds of, applications that they were making. See, I know my kids, and they're not the sharpest tack in a box. I love them, and I do everything I can for them. But, you know, they just, you know, they're not the top of the, you know, of the student. And I was just
Right.
wondering where you were.
Oh, no, you know, and there are some kids that I counsel them to go to community college first.
Yes.
Because that's the best place for them,
Yes.
because they need to get their GPA up, they need to
Yes.
work at
Yes.
learning how to be a student.
Yeah.
You know, they have to learn those study skills, and I say to the parents, they spend all that money
Okay.
when you could try it here first,
Mhm.
and if they prove themselves, then you go to the next step. I said, you know, we've got, one thing about North Carolina, we've got a fantastic transfer system.
Yes.
And I said, kids need to take advantage of that. I said, starting at a community college is not. It's a smart thing to do, really. So no, I counsel kids
Good.
at all levels, all income classes. Yes, Jessica?
So when I was following you on Instagram, a business I know the owner of popped up. Have you tried different businesses who focus on kids, like Fifth and Shady Lacrosse, or like a lot of the dance studios in Fayetteville also have like kids and teen classes, and like a lot of those kids are very focused and they're very serious, whether it's just about dance or about
You know, I haven't
education
done that.
as well.
I
So
haven't
those
thought
kind of,
dance class,
that
dance
you might be
schools.
able to collaborate with those kind of businesses and be like, you know, whether you do a small presentation or they put your flyer in the newsletter or something.
That's good, thank you. I have not thought of that. Or maybe I thought of it and didn't. Part of it is the time, you know, you have so many things in your head, and when it's just you, and you've got sticky notes everywhere, it's like, what do I attend to first?
You gotta give up that bookkeeping, Belinda.
I know, I do, Deborah, I do, I really do, because I hate it. I hate it with a passion.
I have
Yes,
a question. In
yes.
case a family come to you and they ask for your services helping their son or their daughter, how much it costs that family to
Okay.
get your help?
Okay, if it's a comprehensive package, it's $3,300 for regardless of whether they start at 9th grade or 11th grade. If it's 10 sessions, it's $1,130. If it's 5 sessions, it's $575. And if it's 1 session, it's $125. Now, those prices, when I determine those prices, I have to tell you, I was lower than that. And one of the things our association does is they do a survey every other year. And in that survey, there's a question about the range of fees. The South is always 15% lower than any other section of the United States. However, my prices are set based on the Fayetteville area, because my friends in Cary and Durham and Raleigh charge quite a bit more and get it. But they're in communities where education is considered an investment. People are used to paying for services at that point. That's why I branched out outside of Cumberland County, because I really struggle in Cumberland County. Yes,
Thank you.
welcome. Good morning.
I've got a comment and then I got a follow-up to it. First one is, how are you reaching your kids now?
A lot of it's through, you mean reaching my kids as far as getting in.
As far as kids knowing about who you are and what your service is.
It's all through word of mouth, because I'm looking to reach parents, because they're the ones that are paying the bill.
Yeah.
So that's my ultimate thing, is reaching parents.
Right.
Some of my kids that I work with, they kind of become my ambassadors, because then they tell other
Of course
kids
they did.
about me. You know, I have one young man I'm working with now that is a 10th grader at Pine Forest, and plays on a sports team, and he's trying to get all his teammates. You gotta go work with Miss Belinda. So that's how I do it with kids, and it's through following my social media, because the kids are on Instagram, the parents are on Facebook.
Yeah, you're not going into the high schools, of course,
No.
I know that, because that's where the turf
That's
war
their
is.
territory. Yeah.
I teach connections here on main campus, and I'm humbled and honored to be a part of that program. And in one of my business classes, I have 40 kids. It's a large group. And they're from 11 different high schools in Cumberland County. And this is definitely in their wheelhouse. And I don't think any of these 40 know about this program or know about you. So I would like to invite you to come to one of our classes on campus. The dean has already blessed it. I asked her before asking you.
I will be there. See, that's what I love. This is why I like doing this, and these are the connections that I need.
And that's what
Yes.
that was the offer to you. And I'll set this up, and I've got your information.
Okay.
Get your availability to come into one of the classes. And I think it's a rewarding opportunity, because I'm gonna tell you what these kids will tell you. Their counselor is unavailable. Their counselors are backed up. They don't know, well, one, they don't know who their counselor is this week, because the person's gone or out, or, this is what they'll tell you. Not all of them will tell you that, because all of our high schools in Cumberland County, they do have great counselors.
They do.
Even
They do.
Brent. And you know, even that. So, but some of them will tell you that.
I know, we have those conversations, and I say to my kids, I said, look, having been a school counselor, when I left school counseling, having over 355 kids on my caseload, I understood what it means to have that many kids that you're responsible for, trying to do your work, and then the principal's telling you to go cover the bus, go do lunch duty.
Yeah.
We need a class over there, we need this
They'll tell
paperwork
you.
done. So I know that happens. A report just came out yesterday from the American School Counselor Association. And the ratio of counselors to students in North Carolina is 478.
Yeah, one.
To one.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right.
Well,
One.
we're better than Arizona, which is 900 and something.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think there are other.
Thank you.
There are other departments that might be interested too, because I teach high school and they ask me questions about application and
Oh,
I'm
yes.
clueless.
Oh, yes.
Just the other day, they were like, oh, should I include the classes I've taken at Fayetteville Tech when I apply? Because they've been taking classes since their
And they've
junior
got to show
year.
that dual enrollment.
And they don't
And
know if they should or they shouldn't. Their counselor told them that they shouldn't and they don't know.
No, they should. They need to actually have a
I
transcript
was just
sent
like-
from Fayetteville Tech along with their high school transcript.
But just the other day, they asked me and I was just like, I think you should.
So it is, so that's always, you know, so that's the issue. I know those questions come up because those are the questions I get from the kids in the library.
Yeah.
Those are the questions. I'm working with the young lady now who actually graduated from high school in June. She's doing a gap year. And I said something about subject tests. She goes, what are those? I've never heard of those. I said, SAT subject test, you never heard of those? She goes, no. I said, okay, let me just back up here. But she was going to need them for one of the schools she was applying to, and she had never heard of them.
So your service does include ways for students to better perform on the SATs?
Oh, yeah, so what I do with my kids, so especially students that have a comprehensive package, so they all take, so in North Carolina, every junior takes the ACT at no cost to the student. The state picks up the cost, and we do this in March. But what I tell my kids, I said, when you go to get a driver's license, do you just jump in the car on the day you're going for your road test and go down the road? I go, no, what do? We practice over and over. I said, so why aren't you practicing for the ACT? So I have my kids sit with me, and they have to take, because this is what test prep companies do that charge thousands of dollars.
Oh,
They
yes,
have
they
to
do.
sit with me,
Yeah.
and they have to take a full-timed ACT with the same breaks, the same time, everything. I mean, I did that as a high school council proctor. And then it's scored, and then we use that to figure out what they need to do next. Now, those that are taking the SAT actually has better resources for kids. So they'll take a full practice. I had a kid do this 3 weeks ago. She took a full practice SAT. So we sat there for almost 4 hours. She did that. There's an app that they can download that will scan the answer sheet, score the test for them, and give them a question and answer analysis for each and every question. So they have to do that, and then we're going through that so that they're prepared. So you cannot go and take that test and not be prepared. Okay?
Yes, earlier you mentioned that you took some helpful social media marketing classes with Candy Sugar.
Yes.
She's going great, isn't she?
Yes.
I'm curious, where did you take those classes?
I took some here.
Yes.
Yes. I took some online, and they were free. But in addition to that, I took classes with Todd Lyden
Yes?
when he came here, free. And he's the one, my newest project right now, my social media is increasing my presence on Google. So all of you are to go and do a review, a Google review. Don't do a Facebook review. I want Google reviews, because that's what Todd had us focusing on. So I'm working on doing that, and I learned that from Todd Lyden here, free.
Also, I want to get together with you. There's a young lady who comes occasionally, Katrina, I can't remember how to pronounce her last name, but she goes by K-Nitch, and she is a virtual assistant,
Okay.
and she is a really sharp young lady. So that's for everybody here. And she's right here in Fayetteville. She's an amazing young lady, so. Anyway,
One more, we got time for one more.
Okay, whoever.
Thank you guys, had their hand up first.
I'll ask you later.
Okay.
Yeah, I was curious, how did the woman from California find you? What was the target word
Oh.
on Google?
Well, again, see, this is that my network. So my friend that lives in California was asked to do it. She didn't feel comfortable. See, not everybody does the career counseling piece. I love the career counseling piece. She did not feel comfortable doing it. Plus, it was a friend. So she referred her to me. And that's how we got to work. I have another student that I worked with in California. Well, I'm still working with her in California. And she was referred, so they're in different parts of California, and my friend doesn't like to work virtually. I do. It doesn't bother me. I think it's great being able to work through Zoom. So I'm working with another student. This is a high school student that's in California, but it's through different referrals from colleagues. Yes.
Go ahead.
Any others?
Okay, last questions for me?
Yes.
What can this community do to help you?
Okay, first of all, get the word out. Invite me to come and speak at organizations or civic groups or anything that you know about. I'd love to come into classrooms and have those conversations with people. Again, follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, share that information with people. Like I said, I do the Facebook Lives every other Monday. So find that information and share it with people, interact with me. Like I said, my whole marketing strategy now is around social media because, and I track all of my social media. When I put out an article, I do a bit.ly link, and then I go back and I check to see how many people have clicked on that. That's actually pretty good. That's working out really well. So that's what I need people to help me get the word out and invite me to speak.
And I will tell you, when you invite her, she does come, because she had already accepted the invitation offered her last time. We were talking to come to the Future Business Leaders of America, so I appreciate that.
Yes.
So, and again, where did you learn some of these skills from?
I learned some of these skills right here at Fayetteville Tech Community College in the General Education Building for free. And I started taking these classes actually when Tamara was still here. I was taking classes then, because sometimes some of the classes would be at the library, at Cliffdale Library. So I've been taking classes through Fayetteville Tech for free right along.
Excellent.
Yes.
And that just segues right into it. Thank you,